Nicole Gonzalez. It is Tuesday, March 1st, 2016. This is a regular meeting of the Dublin San Ramon Services District Board of Directors. Presiding this evening is President Pat Howard.
Yeah, full meeting to order, and please join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Director Duarte?
Here.
Director Michelin? Here. Director Von Leopold? Vice President Halkett?
Here.
President Howard?
Here. Excuse me. Special announcement?
One simple one. We told the Finance Committee last night that the district received an award from the Dublin Society of Municipal Finance Officers, the last budget that we submitted, their excellence award for the product that we submitted. So it's been a nice kudos. Thank you to Karen and to Herman, who's no longer with us. And then we have no new staff to introduce tonight. We'll offer what I did.
Oh, cool.
So you'll be getting some
All right. The public comment. This is an opportunity to comment on anything that's not on the agenda. There's no one here, so we'll close that. Reports.
Okay, President Howard, board members, two brief notes on the drought, I guess. DWR increased our allotment from 15 to 30%, or statewide in most areas. Zone 7 sent us a letter indicating that they can meet all of our projected demand, unless, of course, things change, then they wouldn't be able to meet. Well worried. I'm sorry. And the agenda, looking at the agenda for next month, other than the water master plan and the connection to schedules, looking a little for planning purposes. And that's really it.
Okay. Let's see, agenda management. I don't see any change. What else have to do?
There's one item noted on there, and that's item 11D, under closed sessions, that we will not
So not me. Okay. All right. Let's see. Committee reports. Anybody have anything to add to? No?
We had a brief meeting last night, I think it was
Good.
good stuff.
All right. Approval of minutes for the regular meeting of February 16th.
Second.
Move to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. That carries 4-0. Okay, on to consent calendar, items 8A and B. Anybody wish to pull anything?
Move to approve.
It's been moved and seconded. Approve the consent calendar. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Carries 4-0. Board business. The next item is a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing.
So,
We have to hear the
presentation.
presentation.
Well, the first item we have in front of you is miscellaneous fees. We do this every 2 years. The miscellaneous fees generate $3.7 million in revenue, what we did last year. The process is that the managers kind of go through, these are pretty well-timed motion type reviews of cost specific, recovering costs that are related to specific activities of the district. The managers go through an update. Karen kind of leads everybody through the process. People like Karen, Redora, among some of the bigger people involved with that. And so we go through that. They update the time, who's assigned to it. We apply the rates to the people and develop the new fees. There's no new fees proposed under the miscellaneous fees at this time. And attachment A to the staff report has the indications of what's changed. You can see from looking through them, pretty minor, and many are down. The action we took with some of the reorganization. The staff has had an impact. There's a little less overhead to share on the costs. So I don't think there's really anything major in there. The only ones that went up were the ones related to the meters. So the cost of the meters is going up. And that was really, I think, the only thing that of any substance that would have gone on other than swapping out staff. So if there's any other questions, Terrence will attempt to answer specifics.
Well, this is an opportunity for the public to speak up on this event. Going from the public, so is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Move to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Okay, now we can deliberate. Do you have any questions?
Well, I think it's commendable that quite a few of the fees did in fact go down due to increased efficiency on the part of staff, reducing overhead, et cetera. And I think that kind of information, we should spread that around a little more. Because sometimes public agencies are not, don't receive due credit when they try to operate efficiently. So I thought it was very commendable.
This one that you start paying.
Well, you could put it on.
I move to be adopted fee structures as presented.
Second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Okay, the next item is also another public hearing, which I will open. 9B.
So this,
Say adopt resolution establishing industrial waste program user fees and charges and rescind resolution 15-14.
much the same. These are fees related to the industrial waste program, pre-treatment, the appropriate phase. This generates about $200,000 a year in revenue, and includes things like lab tests that you do over the lab. And it's much the same story. Raj has updated the lab fees. There's a couple of new lab fees that are in there because of equipment we purchased a couple of years ago. And there's also an additional fee for the dental amalgam program, kind of allow us to get after people who aren't self-reporting as is required, because as you know, going after someone who hasn't done it takes time and effort on behalf of staff. So again, the fees are down a bit because of reorganization of the lab, reorganization of the overhead, basically pretty much the same other than that.
Close the public hearing.
No public presence, so sounds good. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? No. That passes 4-0 to close the public hearing, and on with the item itself. Any comments, questions? No? No, it's,
I'll move that we approve the resolution and adopt our resolution and rescind resolution 15-14.
I'll second.
moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. That carries 4-0. And we move on to 9C. Continue the state of drought emergency.
So this item is basically a correction of the resolution that we adopted at the last meeting. On council's advice, we added some more whereases into the resolution to explain why we were adopting what we were. So that we already took action on the last board meeting. This place.
Some more whereas. They read up whereas.
So you never did. The language that's highlighted in yellow in the red line version is taken directly from Article Section 3. And that's one of our sources of our authority to enact the ordinance for water use limitations. I was approved to put that language in the resolution. So here we are.
Sounds good. Is there any discussion before a motion? Is there a motion?
I will move to continue the Bay State Emergency with the adjustments as recommended by our planning council.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Carries 4-0. On with 9D, discuss recycled water refill station.
Yeah, we're going to have Stephanie Olson, our Clean Water Program Specialist, is going to present a report on that tonight.
Good evening, President Howard and members of the board. Staff is seeking guidance from the board in regards to monitoring residential fill station users and expansion of the commercial and residential fill station programs. The risk with the program is cross connections with the potable water supply. Customers can connect recycled water tanks and equipment to irrigation systems that are interconnected with the residents' drinking water supply and could cause recycled water to flow through their house and out to the public potable water supply. Reasons for monitoring fill station users is last year we received reports from on-site storage from 50 gallons up to 1,500 gallons of recycled water being stored at people's homes. We also received emails and phone calls from concerned citizens that were worried about cross connections in their neighborhoods with these folks using recycled water. Then also commercial haulers contacted the district requesting permission to deliver recycled water and place in storage tanks at customers' homes. The issues with all of the above is the district's water use permit does not allow for storage of recycled water on site. And also, there's no backflow prevention assemblies installed on residents' homes, as in there is in commercial and industrial facilities. Backflow prevention assemblies prevent contaminants flowing from the facility back to the potable water supply. So we started last year a limited inspection program, and it was initiated last year, and there were 79 users that received inspections. And we were able to pay for this under the engineering division's unspent funds due to staff vacancies. So out of them inspections, 33% of the users were found storing recycled water 50 gallons all the way up to 1,500 gallons. 3 users were required cross-connection control guidance. Fortunately, no cross-connections were found. Nobody had initially tied in and caused recycled water to go back into our system. Staff report lists 2 monitoring options for this year for the board to consider. A limited monitoring program and outreach effort that is comparable to last year. And the cost for this program would be around $40,000 to $65,000. Or we can do an enhanced monitoring program where all DSRSD fill station users receive an inspection. And the cost for that type of program would be $300,000 to $445,000. For this year, staff recommends a limited monitoring program along with outreach efforts. It seemed to work last year. Customers were informed of their regulations. We did do 3 customers providing cross-connection control and got them corrected. And they all really didn't want to lose their privileges, so they really complied. However, a limited monitoring program does not reduce, it reduces our risk for cross-connection, but it doesn't eliminate it. Staff requests the board also increase engineering planning and permitting budget by $65,000 to cover the cost for the limited monitoring and outreach program. Because now we have staff vacancies are on hold, so we don't have any extra funding to pay for this year. The board may consider establishing a fee to recover program costs, however, it may be too late to effectively implement this year. If it appears that we're going to go through a drought next year, staff will seek direction from the board to establish a fee in December for 2017. Although commercial haulers have requested permission from the district to deliver recycled water to customers' storage tanks, staff does not recommend expanding the program any further. The development of such a program would be expensive, staff-intensive, and DSR's liability would increase with recycled water being delivered and placed into storage tanks outside our jurisdictional authority. Okay, that's all I have. Any questions?
We're a victim of our own success right there.
Yeah, I guess one of the questions was, were we thinking of expanding the use of the fill station? Is that part of the question?
So really what we're going to do is we're going to continue our fill stations. And we're going to have for a 4 or 5 month period, 4-month period, we'll have the fill station across the street near the Dublin Emergency Center like we did last summer. So we wouldn't add to that. The really only expansion element that's under consideration is going through the hoops of allowing commercial hauling of the water. We don't recommend proceeding with investigating that option.
And if you remember last year, we were getting people coming in here being very creative.
Yeah, we did, that was interesting.
We were at about 3,600 signed up for the system. I think right now we're at 3,612. So we haven't signed up hardly anybody over the winter months, but now as it starts to get dry, we may see some more people sign up. Or we may have hit an equilibrium, we don't know.
And last week, we, in discussion with you, remember we talked about having a 3rd day of water, hoping that might alleviate some of the pressure on the 2 fill stations. But, to cut it out completely or to implement a fee, and what Stephanie very politely said is, I think finance would have trouble, instituting a fee collecting. We really don't have the mechanism set up for doing it. Now that could control a little of the usage, it could offset revenue, so we likely could try to set it up. But, the system we've set up so far is really just to track the users and for the permit.
Let's see, where to tackle this. Couple things. Some of it's public perception. Free water seems like a really cool deal. I would submit that if you figure out the gas and the wear and tear in your vehicle, the water is actually, the free recycled water costs a lot more than the water coming out of a tap. And we need to creatively start to plant the seed in the public's mind, because this has to go away someday. I mean, someday we'll get back to normal, we'll have IPR, we'll have other needs for this water. I mean, we're not going to have free water forever. I know that we've got a lot of positive public press. I don't want to stir it up, but just start to think about how we can get out from under this thing at some point when it rains for a couple months in a row. What do we have? We have about 2 months before watering season.
Last year, by the time we were in April, it was really cranking up. But if you remember, last year it didn't rain at all in January.
Because
we had one storm in February.
Trying to charge by the fill or anything would be hard, but it seems like some sort of administrative, we already check them out and do paperwork and give them a card or something, right, that allows them to use the thing. Sure seems like, trading $15 for that card wouldn't be super difficult.
Well, if I may, we don't really have a good way to enforce this if we went that direction. For instance, we have 3,600 people right now signed up. If we told all 3,600 that to get a new ID card for 2016, we would need to have them all come in and pay a $25 fee or whatever it is. Then the question comes into play. Well, how do we know when somebody comes in the gate if they paid their fee or not? Because the scanners
It's a dummy system.
It collects information so we know who they are and how many gallons they took, but it doesn't have any way to feed back to the operator to tell them that this person hasn't paid their fee and they need to be sent out to do it.
Well, but maybe the ones that we're hoping, Rich, is there's been advances made each year as we go through the drought. We're hoping there's some software out there.
Tell you what, if we get to November, and it looks like we're going to have to do this again in 2017. Let's lay in some infrastructure that, I don't make money on it, but people look at things differently when they have to give you a little bit of money to get into a program.
Now, we've started talking about something we were not going to do, and that was the commercial fill stations.
Oh, the coin there, you turn the crank?
Well, not the coin, but yeah, one way of using a card to help with that process.
And the advantage of the commercial system, we have about 100 users, 100 per minute. So it's a smaller subset of users to kind of get our feet wet, no pun intended.
I guess it was inevitable, though, that certain customers would start taking advantage of the program. I'm very surprised to find out it was storing that much water. You know, some users were storing that much water, which creates liability for us.
Well, if you go by Home Depot, at least the one in Pleasanton, the small totes are on the left side, on the right side. One of the great big ones is there, so people are using it. You know, Stephanie's been there to see it. They're there.
But it's so much more expensive than draining your town.
They don't think that.
I know that.
They don't look at that.
They're retirees.
So there is no time cost.
Yeah, no, in reading over all this paperwork, I just,
Yeah.
the cost of 300 to 440,000 to try to monitor all this stuff is way outside of what is realistic.
Well, there were a couple of reasons. You had asked us to come back to talk about. Sorry.
Oh,
It's my turn, it must be phone.
Is it the spine?
But that's my son.
Oh, okay, it's not the...
Of course, he would only call once in 6 months. And he doesn't need money. Sorry. Where was I going? Oh, you asked us to come back and talk about the recycle fill station, so there was a chance to do that. There was a chance to discuss what we do there. I think we hear that for next year, we got to find out ways of getting fees in and out.
Unless it has to be.
Another point of note is we're discussing, we're going to use the Dublin site, but Chris Foss has told me that site is not going to be available next year. Because they're moving the police department over there. They're going to need it sometime. They didn't get full approval to start in October, but they wanted it started.
Cut back on the program, can you do something?
But I think with the, if we continue to have the increased watering, hopefully that'll be it. And then we will look at other ways of, it's got to be software.
Well, I think for the present, your option one is
Option one, yeah.
Stick with your option.
Very good. My mind.
So when you get to the fee-based program, then you start trading the retirees free fee waivers if they volunteer a certain number of hours at the station.
That's why I got my kids through something.
Watch it. They work for your water.
Yes.
So, just,
Go ahead.
No, I was just looking at the item on the actual agenda item. It calls for direction, which I think we've heard, and it also looks like it asks for an increase in budget. Is that correct?
Okay, that'll come back to us.
And that would come back, you don't have that resolution.
Okay.
and one other thing I just popped into my head, if we're thinking about initiating a fee for water, then it could be possible, rather than springing it on to residents, when they sign up this year for their card, maybe let them know that there is a reasonable chance that after this watering season, that the district may have to institute a small fee to help offset the cost of providing this water for free. You just plant the seed, and then we won't have a rebellion.
Oh, we're going to have a billion.
That's a good
Oh, well, how could
We're gonna get it.
they can't say, well, how could you spring this on us?
You want,
It's always been free, why can't it be free now?
I think, I've heard some people say that they're cheap and they watch it, and they say, we know there's costs involved. This is kind of, we've handled the tip of the iceberg by charging some people picking up, but I think Stephanie did something last year that had us all with our eyes open pretty wide as to the time and effort staff have spent in general is getting around it. And you know from the time that you've spent on items, with everybody preparing monthly reports down to trying to monitor it is, we at one point, we guessed almost 10% staff time from everybody around the district. That might be, exaggeration of it, but, 5%, cut it in half, it's still a long time.
Big good news part, I think it's done a lot to get the public aware that recycled water is a good thing. That's been a big plus. Good lead.
Carl, should we maybe consider a handout card with all the future customers that says that limits our liability by a disclaimer saying that our policy does not allow for residential on-site storage? If you do so, you do so at your own.
Go ahead, Dan.
We distributed those cards
Okay.
last summer. We can do another distribution this summer.
But when they sign up, they're acknowledging they understand.
User agreement actually specifies that they can't do that. They can't put it in a tank. People do it anyway. We also added some language to the user agreement last year to limit our liability if someone got hurt by falling down or got cut. We have had a couple of injuries, but nothing serious or anything like that. So we've taken a couple of steps with that. That's liability from.
All right.
So I guess there's no motion. You have directions.
Yes. Forge ahead and good luck.
Yes. Okay, 9E, approve DSRSD comment letter to Zone 7.
So tonight, we're going to have Rodor Bianca, our principal engineer, who's going to give the report and recommendation on this item.
Good evening, President Howard and members of the board. Better. Is that better? Okay. All right, so in front of you is a letter that was prepared by staff for board approval. This is a letter that will comment on Zone 7's urban water management plan, and it's related to DSRSD's board policy regarding our water supplies. So just as a reminder, DSRSD's water supply, storage, conveyance, quality, and conservation policy was adopted by the board in October 2015. There are two principles in that policy that are germane to the Zone 7's urban water management plan. Principle number 3 is that we wish to diversify the sources of our water supply so that no less than 60% of our total demand, potable and recycled, is satisfied by local and regional water supply. The other principle is principle number 12, and it says that these policy objectives can be met through collaboration with other Tri-Valley water agencies, and that includes Zone 7. So a little bit of background about the Urban Water Management Plan. The California Urban Water Management Planning Act requires that urban water suppliers with more than 3,000 customers prepare and adopt a plan every 5 years. And these plans are supposed to be coordinated with other stakeholders and involve the general public. The 2015 Urban Water Management Plan is due on July 1, 2016. Just wanted to let the board know that we are in the middle of preparing our own urban water management plan. And we've come up with some numbers that we've shared with Zone 7. Our ultimate water demand decreased by more than 1,500 acre-feet per year. And that's due to water conservation and our efforts in expanding our recycling facilities. So Zone 7's urban water management plan, they released a public draft February 4, and they will be holding a public hearing and adoption on March 16. This is a regional water supply management plan. So it includes demand projections up to 2035 and water supply sources and availability up to 2035 also. It includes the reliability assessment in normal years, single dry year, and multiple drivers. The plan also includes a regional water shortage contingency plan, and I worked with Zone 7 and the other Valley retailers on making sure that we have a consistent water shortage or stages of action within the Valley. It was really great being able to work collaboratively with them to develop this plan so that our customers throughout the Valley have the same message. And I'm appreciative of Zone 7 working with us on that. The plan recognizes that there's vulnerability in the water supply, and there's importance in diversifying and improving local control of the water supply. So, in the past urban water management plans, the water supplies are normally 80% imported sources, 20% local sources. This new draft shows imported sources down to 70% and local sources increasing to 30%. They reflect the California water fix that provides them water supply to the valley. They also show a regional desalination source and potable reuse, about 10% in their plan. And what does that mean to DSRSD's water supply? You take all of that and look at how that translates to where DSRSD obtains water from Zone 7. At build-out, we would have 49% imported sources and 51% local sources. So we're closer to our policy goals. And this letter encourages them to try to get closer. So to achieve our policy goals, we would ask that Zone 7 increase their local sources to 23, 25% in nice round numbers from regional desalination and potable reuse projects, and possibly reduce imported sources. And that translates to 60% local sources to the district from Zone 7's local and regional sources and our own recycled water sources, and then 40% from imported sources. So I will leave the policy principles up to remind the board that they're looking at the relevant principles that are associated with that letter. We recommend that the board approve the letter. We're hoping that we expect to send a letter after board approval to Zone 7, and we hope that it's included in their agenda when they adopt their water management.
Do you have any questions?
Hopefully follow your advice.
It's a lot of work.
California water fix is not considered import.
I shaded it a little bit darker blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we consider that an imported source.
That's part of the 57?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
two pieces of blue slices
Well,
of
we're
blue
doing-
that are,
I just wanted to point that out, that they're considering that as adding to their total water supply.
All right.
I read the thing carefully. I actually was, maybe the geek I am, I read much of the plan over lunch one day. And they had a chart in there when I was shocked because they actually had in a chart in the plan finding some more water. Only 10%, but they had a placeholder in there for, it's in about 8 years now, a placeholder for, what was it, 10,000 acre feet, something like that. It was good. So I want to have a carrot approach here, not a stick. And this brief nicely. It's not jumping up and down like we're 1,000% pleased, but you guys are doing a good job. So I think the town's fine. Do we need to CC some other people in the valley that I mean, should the mayor, the city manager, doesn't get it maybe, or is that shoot across the bow?
No, I think that'd be fine for us to share our thoughts on that. So if you'd like us to send it to the other cities in the Tri-Valley, we could do that. I'd recommend we send it to their chief executive and let their city managers decide who they want to forward it to.
Yeah. I mean, we don't want to make it. It's just we're getting along so well Pleasanton nowadays. I want to keep the message as uniform as we can. Do you know if they're sending letters to or?
They are, although I don't know if Pleasanton will get a comment letter in time to be included in their agenda packet. I mean, they might have to kind of deliver it verbally at the board meeting on March 16th. But their public works director said they're working on a comment letter to the zone. I'm not yet sure exactly what they're going to say, but I'm sure they're interested also thematically in diversification of local control. I don't know if they'll put it quite the way we do, but they'll hit the same thing.
Yeah, that's for one.
I will move to approve the comment letter that would be sent as is with the adjustments Rich recommended.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. 4-0. Okay, on to 9F. Operations Manager job description.
President Howard, members of the board, as you remember the gentleman to my right, Dan Juan Gallagher, operations manager, has announced his retirement. So we are starting the steps, and there'll be an item in closed session to discuss also. But what you have in front of you is an update to the job description. We've gone through it. Dan has given his input. Maybe the biggest change in here is, the requisite job experience requirements that's shown at the bottom as either or, the grade 5, and I show Dan Kevin well terminology, grade 5 operators experience or So-
That's the thing, the years of experience that we're aligning with the other international applications.
One discussion we did have on this is just, what experience level, and Dan has pointed out, well, that, Levi can operate with grade 5 and do what he needs to do as the supervisor, although Levi is doing actual assignments, documents, and so, yes, okay. But he, has the experience in that. So we think we have a job description that's ready to go in line with the other agencies in the area, and will suit us well as we move forward in the hiring process, which will be coming in the future. So if there's any questions.
That's good to me. Let's see, we don't need a motion.
Good job, Rich.
Yeah, good.
The last person out turned the lights off from his agency?
Okay, so the next item then is board member items. Anybody doing traveling or anything?
On February 18th, I participated in the CSDA workshop on how to be an effective new board member. And the presenter, Dave Miranda, was excellent. He really kept everybody's attention, and he did a lot of sharing of personal experiences in this arena with, to drive home points regarding, mostly the discussion was around somebody who had committed, I wouldn't say a slip in ethics, just a major leap. But the workshop also provided an additional bonus to me as it fulfilled my ethics training issue, so I got my certificate. Good for a year. Oh, thank you. 2 years, that's even better yet.
Yeah, on February 9th, Mr. McIntyre and myself attended Mayor Bill Clarkson's State of the City address. Here in the Chamber of Commerce, that was the largest turnout I've ever believe it's been several hundred. Very large turnout. Presented a very optimistic report, concerns about the city's growing, but all in all, it's a good informative session.
Rich, you have anything? One thing I have is I've just learned some new technology, shutting off the sounds of your, doesn't shut off the watch.
Oh, that's what was going on.
So the watch kept ringing. So now I'm learning, I'll have to figure out how to get around that. Anyway, other than that, next slide.
President Howard, before we move to the next end, I noticed we're talking about Chamber of Commerce, a couple of calendar items. There's a Chamber of Commerce has an awards luncheon Wednesday, March 16th, if anybody's interested in attending. Nancy Feely will be recognized. Special way to let myself or Nicole know. And you should have also gotten an invitation from the Alameda County Special Districts Association. There's nothing in the mail, I think you got an invite, so you should have gotten that in the mail. That's on March 24th. So, slip those through.
All right. Yeah, gotta read my script. It's time to go into closed session. At this time, we ending the broadcast as we anticipate there will be no report out of closed session. If there is any report, it will be announced in open session at the end of this meeting. You may contact the district secretary during regular business hours for that information. Thank you.
Attendees will be as per the agenda.
That's what the agenda. It doesn't have
You notice this gets kind of repetitious.
No, it's kind of
It's
reading
sort of
like
a
that.
pattern of life.
I read this for yesterday. That's okay.
Try your 11th year.
One can only hope.